Welcome to Open Pike Night, the Strange New Worlds podcast, where your stream and Strange New Worlds stream, where your chat questions are the prime directive. I'm your host, as always, producer John T. Bolds. Tonight, we take a bold new step into the world of live podcasting, bringing our favorite pilot straight to you. Here to help us kick off this strange new experiment, returning to the Open Pike Night stage, the one, the only, Melissa Navia. Melissa, welcome back to the Open Pike Night stage.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me back. I'm very excited that we are kicking off the countdown to season 3, and we are doing it together, the long-awaited
the longest-awaited season of Star Trek ever. Yes, we are here to chat about the upcoming season 3 and take questions from our viewers in the chat. Looks like we got more folks joining the stream as we go. So we're here tonight to discuss all things Ortegas. Get excited for season 3 of Strange New Worlds, premiering in just over 2 weeks, July 17th on Paramount Plus, of course, and to spotlight your questions from the chat in true Open Pike Night style. But of course, no Open Pike Night mission could be successful without my first officer and trusty navigator, Cameron Harrison and Jesse Bailey. What's up, guys?
Excited to be here.
Why does
I actually canceled an air. I actually canceled an Air Canada flight to be here today, so I thought that was a little retribution.
I actually did not book an Air Canada flight today, especially so I could be here.
Well, it's much appreciated.
Ask, when you're an actual pilot and you play a pilot on TV, and you get word that your flight has been canceled, is there a small part of you that thinks I could fix this?
Do you know? There have been a few this season as we were filming season 4. There have been, because we shoot in Toronto. I keep flying back to New York, where I am from, and my wonderful family and friends are here. There have been a few cancellations. Like, we had one flight where we were on the plane for 6 hours. And everyone, when they hear that, they're like, that's not legal. And I'm like, it's hard to explain. There was a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of, like, we were about to get off, then we didn't get off. And I did have this, like, sense of pride, like, when I was just like, nothing is going to happen without the pilots, do you know? Like, it just felt, and then in the middle of the 6 hours, the 2 pilots had to change into new pilots. And then when we finally took off, it was amazing. But we did take off. And then what happened last Sunday is that the plane never took off. We never got on the plane. The whole thing got canceled. And so instead of having that moment of like, I could fix this, I was like, I have to get to Canada. And so the only way to do that, and I booked another flight for that evening. For everyone who has no idea what we're talking about, we were supposed to do this a week ago, and I was having quite the adventure trying to get to Toronto to film, and what ended up happening was, with that new flight I booked, I immediately started getting emails being like, thunderstorms may impact this flight, and I was like, I can't do this. And that was like a 7:30 p.m. flight, and I had to be ready to go to set the next morning at 3 a.m. So I raced back to my apartment via a ride share and said, we're gonna go to Toronto. And so I learned something, and that is that the soundtrack to Mad Max Fury Road, excellent driving music. I mean, I was like storming the border. It was amazing. And I got to Toronto at approximately 2 a.m. and I got picked up to go to set at 3 a.m.
Oof.
Wow.
And so I had an amazing day that was fueled by rage, adrenaline, and Star Trek.
So you drove yourself, or did you find like a Midwest polka band to hitch a ride with?
I drove myself. I just said there were some offers, and they were wonderful and kind, but I was like, no. I was like, Air Canada is not going to thwart all of our Mondays. It'll just thwart mine. So yeah. And then while I was doing all that, I was just like, I was communicating with you guys, and then at one point I was at a rest stop and I called my mom. And she was like, when do you go to LA? Because I was supposed to go to LA later in the week, which I did. And my response was like, I'm trying to get to Toronto. I said, LA is later.
A whole other country, Mom.
Yeah, I said one day at a time. And then I did get to LA at the end of the week. So it's just been a crazy week. And now I'm back in New York. And I was just like, when you guys were like, how about 10 p.m. Wednesday? I was like, how about we do it or it's not going to happen? So, yeah.
It's happening.
It is.
Yes.
I am trying another Air Canada flight on Sunday. Again,
Oh, boy.
same story, but it's much earlier, and so we'll see how that goes. And I don't have this booked, so if I have to drive again, nothing is going to get canceled.
And you know what to
There you
listen to.
Yeah. And we do just want to say thank you again, Melissa, for your time and helping Open Pike Night become the podcast that we always wanted it to be. You're the first guest we ever had, and it's great to have you back again. And hopefully we keep having you back, since now we know what the lifespan of the show is. We can keep visiting with you as we go through all the way to the finale.
Yes,
So,
I have
thank
been.
you
I
so
have been
much.
so. It's my absolute pleasure. Like seeing every time you guys have had a new interview with one of my friends, my coworkers, my co-stars, our producers, our writers. Like it's just been the coolest. So I am so happy for the three of you and for your fans. And shout out to my sister Soraya out there who helps me in everything, and she rocks, and you guys do. And so it's just been like this whole journey has been wonderful. And one of the reasons like I was very excited to do this was because the feedback we've got from fans of course for the run of the show, but when they found out that season 3 was dropping, like just the excitement it's not even the best word for it. Like everyone was just like, we are so happy that the show is coming back. Like we need this show right now. And then it kind of broke my heart too that the season 5 news came out. It was just kind of like life is such like ups and downs, you can't have like a moment of good news and then there's also like bad news, and it's like So what I've kind of been feeling this desire to do is just to really celebrate like that exuberance and that kind of like that joy in like storytelling and in Trek. And there's always going to be ups and downs, and I've been talking to a lot of Star Trek actors from back in the day, and they're like Star Trek endures. We always get things about shows are ending, and this is happening with these seasons, and just Star Trek endures. So instead of everybody kind of I know we're not focusing on the season 5 news, but we're focusing on the season 3 is here. We're filming season 4. Like there's so much Trek to come, and yeah. So I just want to celebrate with fans as much as possible, and reaching out to you guys and doing this. I was just like, there's no other group of people I would want to like kick off kind of this season of season 3 press.
It feels
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I texted the guys. I was like, you guys. Melissa Navia DM'd us. We got to set something up.
If she says so.
I guess.
I was like, who can help me pull off this hijinks? And you guys
Navia
were my
maneuver.
first choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can't get into specifics, but I will say, for those of you watching at home, you have
can see
nothing
my
to
shirt.
worry
It's my
about
shirt.
with season 3. It is everything that you want it to be. The first 2 episodes alone put all 3 of us through the emotional ringer.
Oh, yeah.
And we were blown away. We're so excited for everybody to watch this show and for us to be able to talk about it with you. It's gonna be an amazing season. And yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned that we got the news of the full lifespan of the show. We've got season 3 just about to start. People are still talking about season 2. You're filming season 4. Like, do you ever feel like there is no part of your day that doesn't get taken up by Trek? Or do you feel like you're in a Trek time loop?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to describe it. So it was funny on the flight to LA on what day is today? When did I fly to LA? On Thursday. So sometimes I have on my necklace I have this guy.
Very
And this was a gift from Chrissy to all the cast members at the end of season 1. And sometimes I have it on, sometimes I don't. But it's definitely a bit of a beacon, right? And on the flight to LA, I had my sun hat, I had my sunglasses, and like the flight attendant, he walked by and he's just like, "Oh, Starfleet," and I was like, "Yes," and I thought he was like talking to me. He had no idea who I was. It was just like, I was like, "Oh yes, right, okay." And I was like, even if I didn't have my hat on, I don't think he had any idea who I was, which I was like, this is great. But I just love that, where I'm just like, yes, Starfleet. We had this great moment. I got extra like Sprite, which I don't think was actually Sprite, but maybe it was Sprite. I don't know. But it was great. So it's just like, Trek fans are everywhere, and this has been become a big part of my life, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And like I saw like a quote the other day from one of our wonderful guest stars coming up in season 5, and he was just like, when you're part of a cult show, you have to embrace it. Do you know? And that's like that's so much a part of like the fun of this. Like so much of our job is, I mean, it's all fun. Like I enjoy every day of my job on set, even all the madness and all the business things that maybe are not always as fun, but I enjoy all of it. But so much of it is like the fandom, like things like this, and I learn so much from the fans, and all of our writers are fans as well, and so I learn things in every new script, and yeah. So answer to your question, no, I feel like I'm in this crazy loop, and sometimes I get people ask this question. They're like, if this is all if this is like your big role and this is like what you're remembered for, like, is that cool? And I'm like, yeah, that would be like, yeah, like I'm on the cover of comic books, action figures, like on the cover of books. Like I got a copy of the new Star Trek Strange New Worlds novel. Yes, Toward the Night. Yep. Wonderful author James Swallow sent me a signed copy, and I'm like, I gave it to my parents. I was just like, I haven't written my book yet, but look, I'm on the cover of one. So unexpected,
count for something, right?
Yeah. So cool. So yeah, no, this has just been the role of a lifetime, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. And even when the news we get isn't always the news we want to hear, I'm just like, I'm like, this has been such a ride. So let's enjoy it for the time that we have.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody out there watching the stream, go ahead and start popping your questions for Melissa in the chat. We'll ask a couple more here, then get to yours. So the season premiere recently screened at Tribeca, which made me wonder, when do you typically see a finished episode? Do you guys get like a cast and crew pre-screening? Do you get links, or do you not get to see it until it airs?
So yes, we get a version before you guys do, of course. And the funny thing about the season 3 episodes is we'll get like a link, kind of a top secret link, but we won't kind of usually get a heads up about when that's happening. And I got the link for season 3 episodes. We had like a week to watch them, but I got them while I was on another flight. Like my life seems to be flights. It's like I like flying. But like it was the link, and it was just like, you have a week, and I was on my way to Ireland, and I was just like, to be with friends and family, and I'm like, I don't want to, you want to be on vacation and do all the things, and I was just like, and when I watch our episodes, like we've probably spoken about this before, but I absolutely enjoy watching the show, and I enjoy watching, like I have no issue watching myself. Like there's some actors who don't like watching themselves. That is not me. I was just like, when we first got the season 1 episodes, like I was like, what did I do? How did I do it? What do I look like? But here I was just kind of like, I don't want to do it. Can I do it later? And so then they were like, oh yeah, they were like, you could do it later. We'll give you 72 hours, but like choose wisely. So then for like weeks when I got back, I was like, 72 hours. And I said, and then I chose the 72 hours. And of course I had, everything suddenly came up, and I ended up having to watch all of season 3 in like 8 hours.
Oh man, that's so tough.
It was a little crazy. Might have had a couple more hours, but I definitely had a bit of a marathon. And I watch for everything, and I see the biggest thing that sometimes I see is like the things that were cut, and I'm like, But seeing it was very cool. And then for us, it's like, we get to see special effects that we haven't seen before. And also when we do ADR, so when we do ADR in post-production, we also get to see a lot of scenes and things that, that we haven't seen before. And then we also get to see things where the special effects are still, being worked on, which is always kind of funny, because it'll be like, it'll be you on the bridge, and then it cuts to like, kind of like stick figures in the sky. Definitely not quite that, but kind of like that. So yeah, one of the things that I hear all the time and I get questions about, and some of it's like, people being funny, but other times I really don't think people quite understand, and they're just kind of like, why can't we get seasons that are, 20 plus episodes long, and why do we wait so long? And somebody was just like, don't take this personally, but I'm upset that it has taken so long and there's only 10 episodes. I was like, well, definitely not taking it personally. But if like, to really understand the amount of time it takes. Like up until we receive, that top secret link as the cast to look at the episodes, like stuff isn't completely locked down. So they're working from like, to the very, very end, pretty much until you guys, in the press got to see those first 5 episodes. So yeah, so the reason is because you're getting 10 mini movies per season, and yeah, I wish we could do more, but I can tell you 10 episodes in a season is a lot of work. It's a lot.
Yeah, we've asked Henry and Akiva both, like, did you guys ask for 10? Did they tell you it was 10? And they said, yes, we ask for more than 10 every season. 10 is what we're told. So, and just one last note before we start spotlighting some of these questions. I think they're working on episodes possibly even after we get the screeners, because there was a detail in episode 2 that we were trying to verify. And so I was like, oh, I'm smart. I'll turn on the closed caption and I'll see what it says in plain text. The only closed captions the screeners have are in Japanese.
Yeah.
So I can't read Japanese. So
Love that.
the other thing is they're all listed episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. And then after that day, when all of the titles were released, the screeners updated to include the titles on top of the episodes. So it's like a living thing that they
Totally.
send you. It's not stuck in time. So
Yeah.
Totally.
yeah. So first up, shall we go with Jen, gentlemen?
Let's do it.
Jen says, what shows do you watch other than Trek?
Oh, hey, Jen. What shows do I watch other than Trek? I've spoken about this a lot, but I'm still watching it. It's kind of like it's become my comfort show, but also comfort show makes it seem like it's just kind of like, oh, it's just a show you go watch, but it's just so well done, and it brings me a lot of joy. Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And I started watching Downton Abbey when we started filming season 2, and that was when I was grieving. I had just lost my partner in December of 2021, and so this would have been like February of 2022. And it was interesting because I needed to find a show that we hadn't watched together, and so that show, like, just because it was, now I can watch shows that Brian and I watch together all the time. Like, I love them. Like, it make me so happy, and I can watch them now. But at the time, though, it was just kind of like I couldn't do it, and I started watching Downton Abbey, and I just thought it was such a I actually, it reminds me of like when people talk about Trek as their comfort show. And when I see like the dinner scenes in Downton Abbey, all I could think about is how long they must have taken to shoot. And it reminds me of our bridge days, So I'll like come home after a 15-hour day of shooting on the bridge, and I'll like just pop on Downton Abbey in the background, and like there'll be like a dinner scene, and I'm like, I'm sure they couldn't stand that dining room, when they were done filming. I mean, I'll always love the bridge, but Downton Abbey to me is just like it became like such a metaphor for life, and it just does such a great job at tackling grief. I feel, discussing it, and also young grief. With you have like a significant number of people in the cast who are very young who lose their partners, and so I immediately I understood that, and then it also talks about older love, like when older people fall in love, you don't get to see that a lot in a lot of TV shows. And Downton Abbey is just one of those shows where there's so many characters and so much going on. You can pop it on in the background. But yeah, so Downton Abbey, always and forever. What have I been watching recently? I've been watching things on Paramount Plus. I've been watching Mobland with Tom Hardy. And Tom Hardy, yeah, I've been watching quite a few things with Tom Hardy. I mean, I was listening to Mad Max Fury Road to get me to Toronto the other day. What else did I just started watching Shogun. That was, yeah, I'm enjoying that. What else? It's so funny. Whenever I get these questions, I'm like, suddenly everything leaves my head. But yeah, so just finished Mobland. If you stick around, Jen, I'm going to continue answering this question throughout the length of time that we are here.
Just shout out TV show titles.
Yeah. Oh, I also I did get back on a Frasier kick, the original seasons, just because there's just so good, so well written. And so I was just watching like the best of, and yeah, and really good comedy. Like to me is everything. And yeah, so right now I've been on a Frasier kick. I just finished Mobland. and then I'm currently watching Shogun. So what kind of shows do I like to watch? Like I like to watch things that are well written, and I can't stand to watch things that are not well written. Mm. There's been a couple movies that I've seen recently that I will not discuss here. That I want to just pretend.
Same boat here. My wife
don't
and I
exist.
The last movie we went to, we both walked out like, who's gonna say it first? I did not like this movie. And
oh my God!
Like, neither did I. I was like, oh, I'm so happy. I was worried that you were gonna love it, and I was gonna be the downer.
Oh no! There's definitely there's a film recently that I'm feeling like I have to write about it under a pseudonym or something because it just on a weekly basis I just get angry that it exists. So we won't discuss that. But yeah, stick around, Jen. We'll keep answering that question as I remember the things I've been watching.
So our next question comes from one of those comic book artists who has been immortalizing you on the graphic page. Vernon would like to know, will you be at Star Trek Las Vegas this year or doing any cons in New Orleans?
So I would love to do a con in New Orleans. I've never been, and I would absolutely love to go. I've wanted to go to New Orleans for a long time. I've been very fascinated by the history and the people and the culture and the music and just everything about it. I'm not a big party person. I always hear people go to parties and but I would love to just go and just be wrapped up in the history of it. So yeah, if there's a con in New Orleans, I'll ask my agent to keep an eye out on it. For Star Trek Las Vegas, I've been getting that question a lot and I don't entirely know how to answer it. I would love to go to Star Trek Las Vegas. Right now it's just we're having I don't know, what can I say? I don't know, it kind of goes back to just at the moment I'm not going. And I hope things change and I do go. But just right now I'm not going. And I love Las Vegas. It's just absolutely awesome. If anyone's watching this and hasn't been, it was my first convention. And that was in 2022. In 2022, I only did 2 conventions. And you guys know I was conserving energy for lots of reasons. And I just did 2 conventions, and they were Star Trek Las Vegas. And I didn't meet you then, right? I met you the following year, I think, right? Officially, in person.
Yeah.
And New York Comic Con, which was, to me, was so special because it's New York Comic Con, so it's my hometown, and I was seeing my name above me and being there next to Anson signing pictures. I was like, I think I made it, happy. So that was cool. But Star Trek Las Vegas was the first convention I ever did, and it's just such a blast. You're surrounded by Trekkies and family members and family members and maybe your own family members if you bring them. And it's just such a fun time. And I would not say I'm not a Vegas person, but Trek will always get me to Las Vegas. So, so never say never. Something might change, but as of right now, I'm not going. So, but all my castmates are probably going, a bunch of them. So, if you go, think of me and remember me and talk about me.
Last time we were there, people were thinking of you. I believe we calculated the line to meet Melissa Navia was about 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. It was the longest line.
It was
in
the
longest
convention.
line.
I know, and I'm also and people are sometimes oh you got to move things along, and I'm I feel like I don't dawdle when I'm talking to people, but I'm like you're there to get my autograph and also to meet me, but just so many fans have something to share with me, something to tell me, and so I'm just and I'm I love it too, sometimes fans will be thank you so much for staying, and I'm always just there's only one reason I'm in Vegas. There's only one reason I think I'll ever be in Vegas, and that is for Star Trek fans. So I have nowhere to go. So, and then everyone who ends up staying on that crazy line, I'm I think you are wonderful and thank you. But yeah, that was the crazy line. I think you guys got a video of it too.
Yeah,
yes, we did.
Which it's so wild.
So I'm going to hijack it help for just a second. Vernon, who asked that question, he has been drawing a bunch of Star Trek comics lately, and he's drawn characters like, let's see here, this guy.
What? Vernon?
And he's drawn characters like, let's see here, there's this guy. I don't know if anybody recognizes him.
Oh.
What?
Oh my goodness, that's
Vernon.
awesome.
I've got antenna.
And let's see, one last one here. So this goes all the way back to our interview with Bernadette when she assigned us all alien races.
I love that.
Dude.
Telluride John. It's amazing.
Guys, that's amazing. Oh, I love
Vernon,
it.
we owe you forever. That is so cool, man.
That's
Thank you
very
so
cool.
much.
I've now
Oh,
seen a Vulcan with an eyebrow piercing. It's
There you
perfect.
go.
it's only logical, okay? I used to have more piercings, but then I got a job. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep this one so that people here still know that I'm, not some corporate clown, but I'm going to take the rest of these out. So, wow, that is really cool. Vernon, thank you so much. You are forever a friend to Open Pike Night, and we cannot wait to have you back on the show. But it looks like Jeff Newman in the chat is playing the role of fourth Open Pike Night host, because this is exactly an Open Pike Night question where you try to get around all of the potential embargoes. If you are able to answer this in a very vague way, what do you think? Do you have a favorite episode in season 3? And if so, is it at beginning or middle or end of the season?
I have a favorite episode in season 3. I do. I would say I have 2 for different reasons. Excuse me. There's one toward the middle of the season, and then there's one toward the end of the season. However, I also love the ones at the beginning of the season. But definitely, there's one in the middle that there's a very special reason for it, and when it airs, I will let everyone know. And it was. It was very special, and a few different people came together to make it happen, and it also rested with the director, whose kind of idea it was. Like it was always kind of like in my head, but then when she mentioned it, it was very cool, and it was perfect. So there's that episode, and then there's another episode later in the season that. I will definitely talk about when it comes out, and yeah, it was a blast to shoot, and the director was wonderful, the writer was amazing, and it was an experience unlike any other, and I'll leave it at that, Jeff.
Very well done, Jeff.
Excellent.
You should consider getting a podcast. We have our friend Melanie all the way from Germany, where what time is it, guys, there? It's like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. for Melanie,
4
I think.
a.m.?
4 a.m.
It's
I think,
very
yeah.
early in the morning.
Hey, Melanie in Germany.
Melanie has an excellent question here. So Pike and Ortagus have a great relationship. Is it two pilots getting along? I do hope we get to see more of their easy banter and fun conversations. Can you say something about this?
Oh, I love this question, Melanie. Yeah, I feel like the writers really did a great job in season 1 of writing it in, and then with Anson on the bridge, it just I'll say it forever. He's the perfect Pike. It's like the casting directors really knew what they were doing, casting Anson and me and everyone else. But it feels like it just doesn't feel like they do. They both really trust each other. But there's something that just happens like when Anson and I deliver our lines and when we're on the bridge together, and there's just these great moments where even when I see it afterwards, I'm just like, oh, like it's so good. And there's also this very cool thing about so much of what Anson does as Pike, I don't get to see when he's in the captain's chair. Do you know? So like there's that great exchange that I get people wanting me to autograph it, and it's just like it's like like what is it? First date, blind date,
Yep.
and it's just like that whole thing is like a whole conversation. Ortegas is never looking at him, but it's like it is very much like pilots talking, where it's just like you have a job to do, but that easy banter. And what I hear from from everyone who served in the armed forces and everyone who I hear from pilots, they're like the way that you guys are with each other is the way that we are with our friends, when we were serving or when we were doing this, that, and on these missions. And that makes me like the happiest, when I'm just like, whatever we've done, like we've nailed some truth that people who have actually lived kind of the scenarios that we're going through are just like, yeah, that just feels so organic and real, and it feels like people that we served with. So yeah, I give it up to the writing. I also give it up to our performances, and and yeah, every time Pike like says Erica, I just love it. You know, when it was just like it's just a familiarity and a trust and yeah, any scene that we have on the bridge where they get to have kind of an exchange, I appreciate and I don't take it for granted.
Very cool. Melanie did also ask a follow up. Will you come to another convention in Germany?
Oh, absolutely. I really wanted to come to FedCon this year, but just the filming schedule just makes it so difficult, understandably, do you know, because the film schedules are always changing. And even last year when I went to FedCon, and anyone who was there will remember, it was so crazy because I was supposed to be there for 3 days and I ended up getting to only go there for 1 day. And the fans were just incredible. Like they just powered me through that day. And my favorite part was just like getting there at the top of the day and walking into like this big, I don't know, call it auditorium, but it was like, the big like convention hall in the hotel. And there's like a massive snaking line. And I was so like tired from the flight. And I'm like, and I see all these other massive Trek actors sitting at their tables who've been there for 2 other days. And they're all kind of hanging out. And I'm like, who's that line for? And they're like, that's you. That's your line. Start signing, move it. And that was the theme of the day. It was faster, faster, faster. And then the fans would like come up to me and they'd be like, are you stressed out? We are sorry this is so stressful. And I was like, I love you all. I was like, I'd be so much less stressed if you stopped reminding me that it is very stressful. But they made it not stressful. They made it so wonderful. And I learned the word Ausverkauft, which means sold out, which I like to share with everybody. But yeah, so FedCon last year was amazing, and then this year it was just a matter of just like the schedule was going to be too crazy. But as soon as they want to have me back, and hopefully I'll have the month off, so I'll definitely go there for 3 days. Because I would love to go back to Germany. It was only my second time in Germany, and everyone was just great. So yeah, Melanie, as soon as I can. Was that a Melanie question? It was, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, when I can, I will be back there, and we'll talk Trek in German.
Very cool. All right, gentlemen, if you feel like I'm in the way, feel free to pick a comment and spotlight it.
Go for
You're
it.
doing great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. In case
I'll let
the
people be
viewers
mad
can't
at you
tell,
for not choosing their questions.
this is our first ever live stream, so if you have any suggestions, email them to openpike@gmail.com because I don't think I could handle live criticism. So our next question comes from our very good friend, Michael Kwan. He's been with us for a long time here at Open
Michael.
Pike Night. And I love this question. Have you ever seen executive producer Bill Wolkoff in his costume as LA Derby Dolls mascot Pinchy the Lobster? Because I can tell you where to find it.
I have not. I've seen Bill a lot. I love Bill, adore Bill. Oh, Bill is such a treasure, absolute treasure to our show. And his scripts, when he writes, his enthusiasm on set, when he comes for his episodes is just, it's like nobody else. Like there's nobody like Bill. And during the strike, like I was just so inspired and galvanized by all the work he did during the writer's strike and the actor's strike. So Bill is a wonder in many ways, and now I know that he's also sometimes Pinchy the Lobster, which I didn't. Just you learn something new every night when you stay up this late.
That's the kind of thing you can just say one day on set, like, "Hey, Pinchy," and see how he reacts.
Right? That's right.
There you go. I do want to highlight one, just because I might have a follow-up question to it. Let's highlight this one. Let's see if it works. Oh, I think so. Ooh. Yes, Pamela says the ship is an inanimate thing, but Ortegas has such a deep relationship with the Enterprise, referencing the third date lines during Squall. How did you build such an intimacy with the ship?
Oh, Pamela, very profound, very spot on. I love that. Yes, like to me, the Enterprise is the star of the show. Like, I mean, it's everything. And I feel like I've noticed that, like it wasn't intentional at first, but I noticed that with kind of, how me as Melissa was approaching the character. And, we've talked a lot about it here on Open Pike, and I've talked a lot about it in interviews, but this whole idea of why it was so important to me that that it looked like, that it be like Ortegas is flying the ship. And, you know, we've talked about it that like, you know, I remember the first day we were, you know, we were on set. I really thought I was going to get a manual. I was going to get training. I was going to get somebody who was really going to be like, this is how it goes. And that didn't happen. And I was Googling, how do you fly a starship? And, you know, the answers were not incredibly helpful. And then I remember going home to Brian and like telling him, and he was just like, you know, no joking. He's like, you have to figure it out. He's like, you have to call people. You have to talk to people. He's like, because the fans will know. He's like, this is Star Trek. Like, we're not playing around. He's like, you have to. And so I immediately was just like, I'm going to get on a Zoom. I'm going to talk to people. And I did that, and it was very helpful. And then it was just like this whole idea too, like if it's real for you, then it's real for the audience. But hearing over the course of the last 2 seasons that have come out, hearing especially from pilots when they're just like, and especially from pilots who are Trekkies and who have seen all the Treks, and that they're like it feels like you are flying the ship in a way that we have not seen before. And I'm like, that's really cool. And I'm like, you know, I would never say that, but other people can say that about Ortegas. And so much of that is just like, you know, you have to know your ship. You have to know your flying vessel. You have to feel like you're one with it. And so much of my job, like, you know, some of my other castmates, you know, will talk about how like days on the bridge get so long. Do you know? It's like, but so many of them get to kind of do lots of other things. I'm not going to say what Ortegas gets to do in season 3, but for so much of her screen time that you've seen, it's been on the bridge. And so the helm to me is very much like, you know, that's a home base. You know, the couple of times I've been put in the captain's chair and I get to see, you know, an actor sit at the helm, you know, a Starfleet officer. But, you know, a little part of me is hurting, you know, when they start hitting buttons that shouldn't be hidden, you know, touching things that shouldn't be touched. And I was like, like not my job because I'm in the captain's chair, but still. So what you're saying, it's very much to me, the Enterprise is the star of the show. And we are all supporting players. And as a pilot, it being her ship. And also so much of like, when I try to rationalize like why something works a certain way, like I definitely go into it a lot more than probably anybody will ever know. But sometimes like, for example, there'll be like, you know, there have been a few scenes where a director has been like, I need you to do this. And then I'll be like, but why? Why am I doing that? Like, because that's not what that does. And then the director will be like, well, how about for this scene, it's what that does. And I'm like, and I'm very much like, I'm like, whatever you need. And I'm like, is it because you want this angle? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, all right, then we'll make it work. But so much of it is just like, I'm trying to think like, you know, a few hundred years in the future, I'm like, how much of the ship also understands its pilot, and how much does the pilot understand the ship in a way that another pilot sitting there, it would not be that same relationship. And then I almost kind of like start to create a whole like, you know, backstory in my head about like this organic relationship that also works through the tech. And I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. This is all just the weirdness that goes on in my head when I'm sitting there and everybody else is doing everything they get to do, you know? So
those are long bridge
like,
days, like you said.
Oh, I'm like, Ortegas is one with the ship. Ortegas is the Enterprise. Enterprise is Ortegas.
Yep. And without getting into specifics, I'll tell people there is a scene in the first half of the season somewhere where Melissa's attention to piloting detail absolutely matters, and you will know it when you see it.
Oh yeah.
Well, speaking
So
to that,
excited.
yeah, my question is, without spoilers, I feel like season 3, we see how the Enterprise is piloted a lot more than we did in the first 2 seasons. Did any of that change from what you had figured out in season 1? Now in season 3, they actually need to show it. Did they stick with what you had figured out, or did they modify what you had been doing?
Interesting. So remember if we go back to those like 8-9 hours I had to watch all of season 3. I'm trying to remember specifically what we were referring to. But this is good because I can't spoil anything if
There
I
you
don't
go.
remember it. I do know that by the time we got to season 3, you know, all these kind of thoughts in my head, and also too, like, you know, that I think there's also like, you know, producers and our writers that, you know, they see how much the fans love, you know, that aspect of Ortegas and of the Enterprise. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's more of it that we're seeing and more of it that's happening. I know, like, I'm trying to think of certain storylines. Like, I can't wait to see that moment that you're like, you'll know it when you see it. And I'm like, I can't wait to see it. I can't remember it, but I'm sure it's great. So yes. Yes. The answer to your question, I think, is yes.
Okay.
We'll leave it there.
Do you still hide your scripts in the chair? You told us a long time ago that you used to
Did
hide
I?
it. Was it you or was it?
I don't think I do that.
Or is it Celia? It's been a really long time since we've interviewed.
There's definitely some other cast members who do it. I won't say any names, but I've always been very big on never doing it because I'm always like, I don't want to be the Starbucks coffee in Game of Thrones. You know?
I think you have said that. That's right.
Yeah, like it's just, it just, to me, it like freaks me out. Like when, other actors and everybody, it could be guest stars, it could be anybody, but they'll be like, and also actors who've been doing this for a lot longer than I have. And they'll be, I feel like I could tell this story. I feel like Carol will appreciate it. And it's not really spoiling anything because it's a season 3 story. But Carol once she has like there's a little fan, for like keeping cool. And she had it under a pillow and it turned on during the scene. And it was hilarious because like Ethan, who will like, there could be like the whole thing could be on fire and he's like, we're going to get through the scene. He's just great. He's just very like, we're going to make it happen. And I just remember he began his line and then he's like, I think there's a fan on. And it was her little fan was on underneath this pillow. And I just thought it was hilarious because I was like, you go, Carol. I was like, I would have never thought, like, I leave I leave my lip balm. I leave everything. I think one time I might have put my wireless headphones like in my boots. And that freaked me out, And you don't see my boots half the time. But no, I would be curious if you just go by and find out who it was. And if it was me, I'd be very interested. But I think
it might have been Celia now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Because I definitely, and also too, and we've spoken to about like my chair. Celia has spoken about, she calls it my football stance. That like, like Ortegas at the helm, like gets, and she's got like this great view of it. And then I was just like, the next time I sat down, I was like, it is a football stance. And so much of it is like, I'm practically off the chair, and so, yeah, I would be very concerned that scripts would end up in places they shouldn't be. Yeah. So it's like either I have the lines or you guys are getting a new line on the day.
Sometimes we've heard that the new lines can be just as good as the old lines as long as they actually fit. I know a lot of writers in the industry are very, my word is the word, but it sounds like on the Strange New World set, they're pretty open to taking input when necessary.
They are. I'm very big, like as a writer, and also just I have such such a respect and also awe for like what our writers do. Like there'll be times I'm on the bridge and we've been through the cast read, the table read, and I've read the script and I know what's happening, and there'll still be like this crazy scene where I'm just like, how do they come up with this? And it's because it's like it's action and it's science and it's also Trek and it's also relationships and it's all these things and and then we're getting hit by this and so and so is coming on the view screen and I'm like, this is very, very talented people who are doing this. And so when it comes to like a line change, and every director and writer will tell you this long after I'm gone, either from the show or from this earth, they'll be like, yeah, Melissa was very big on like a word change. Like she would check with us, like not to a point, I don't think anyway, where it's just like, oh, it's me again. But like, because I understand now, like sometimes even a word could be, there's a reason that's like, it's like that, or even like a pronunciation of something. Like if it's a new word, sometimes like it'll be like they named it after somebody, so it has to be pronounced this certain way. And so like just like as a writer, like I understand like every kind of word that you put in there, you've thought about that, you've placed it. And also sometimes just for my head, like I like to remember and know exactly how it has to be said. So then if I change it, I'm aware of it. And so often now the writers are on set with us, which is great. but if there's something, like you said, like if there's something character wise that we want to change, there's a bunch of us that are very good improv wise. Like Anson is really wonderful in that regard. He's wonderful in many regards, but in that regard, in terms of improving, and me, even like I just value so much the work that they've put into it. Unless it's something really like I'm like this is different and clever, and there's definitely been some things, but I always just kind of run it by them. And then sometimes things come out organically, like you didn't think you were going to do that, and they'll be like, "Oh no, that works, that works," or they'll come in and be like, "That doesn't work." But yeah, it is very open. Like when I hear from other sets where they're just like, "Oh, I don't have any input," I think I don't have that experience. Like we feel like we can talk to our writers and our showrunners, and that's been since the beginning.
That's very cool. I think Star Trek, from what we've heard, from actors, writers, directors, everyone involved, it really feels like it's one of the few shows that's still made how all of our favorite shows from back in the day were made, where everybody is super invested, the writers are on set, that kind of thing. And I think that's one of the things that makes Strange New Worlds so amazing. But of course,
Totally.
what makes Open Pike Night so amazing are the wonderful fans here in the live chat. Our next question comes from Elizabeth regarding the tie-in novels.
I love
Do
how you guys are
read
doing this. The question comes up and everything.
the tie-in novels that relate to your character? Toward the Night is a great Ortegas growth and backstory, and I can't wait to see how it plays into season 3.
Oh, I love it. So I have Toward the Night. James Swallow sent me a signed copy. We had a little exchange.
Nice.
I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this is the coolest thing. I sent him an email back, and initially the email was like, this is amazing. And then I was like, be cool, just try to be cool. I was like, oh, so happy you like Ortegas. You're great too, But I'm not cool at all, because I just think authors and writers are the best. And so when I heard that there was going to be this Ortega storyline, and that he's a fan of the show and he's a fan of our characters, that was the best. And I actually bought a copy of it for my mom on Mother's Day. Like it was like the day it came out. I like picked it up from Barnes and Noble. I pre-ordered it and got it at Barnes and Noble. And there was a part of me that was like, it's funny because between this and the flight attendant story, like I sound like I'm constantly being like, "Do you know who I am?" But I'm not ever doing that. But with Barnes and Noble, I was just kind of like, I wonder if he's gonna. No, the kid had no idea who I was. He didn't care. He didn't really want to be there. But I picked it up and I like brought it to my mom as like her Mother's Day gift. And then I just got the book from James in the mail. He sent it to my agents, and so I haven't read it yet, but I can't wait to read it. Because I have read the comics, but this would be the first Strange New Worlds book that I've read. But hearing from him that it was kind of that he was able to write the voice of Ortegas because it came through so clearly because of my performance on the show, I'm like, that's just, that's what you want to hear as an actor.
Do you think
So cool.
when you read it, you'll read your lines out loud and perform them as Ortega?
Oh, it's so funny. Cameron, I didn't even think about that, but I might have to.
Just record it and send it to him.
And then he's going to be like, wait, I have to stop speaking to her. She's weird. That email was a little intense, but this is getting odd.
I'm picturing you sliding your book across the counter just to see, like, is he going to see that my face is on this cover? And he looks down and looks at you and goes, would you like to join the Barnes & Noble Rewards program?
Oh my God, yeah. I know. I'm going to like read it. It's going to be my next plane book, because I'm constantly on planes. I'm going to be like, I wonder if anyone sees my face on this book.
Just hold the cover up like I do when I'm reading a Star Trek novel. Like, anyone want to talk Star Trek? I have a podcast. Anyone? I'm reading Star
Never
Trek
works.
here. Never.
I love it. I realized the other day that sometimes I'll be talking to people and I'll keep saying TOS, and not everyone knows what that is. Yeah. And so it occurred to me, and this was just like in the last 24 hours, I was like, I used to, and I still do, like when I make a Lord of the Rings reference and someone doesn't get it, I kind of judge them. I judge them, not in a mean way, but I just judge a little bit. And then now, like when someone does not know what TOS means, I'm like, oh, how sad for you. But now you know.
Out. You're
right, yeah.
Better. So we have another great question here, and I'm going to take a shot at pronouncing this. I think it's Biscoito Cookie. Says, hi, hello, within what you can say, of course. How would you describe Erica's journey, and where would you like the character's conclusion to be, whether at the end of season 5 or future treks?
Wonderful question. So I would say her journey's so interesting to me because I play the character. So it's particularly interesting to me. But it's you know it's in kind of like in a cast of legacy characters, right? She stands out that she's a brand new character to the Trek world. I mean, no longer brand new because right we're going to be 3 seasons in, but for me, I was always very happy that she was a brand new character. I wanted the chance to originate, a role that, as you guys probably know, that was in name. It was in Gene Roddenberry's original vision for the crew of the Enterprise, but that character never made it to the screen. And so, as an actor, that has been like a very cool thing for me because I'm like, we know what it's like when you audition and you don't get the role or you shoot the scene and it doesn't make it to the episode. And so it's just in this cool way, it's like here's this character that was supposed to make it to screen in the 60s and now here we are, and I'm in a way bringing it to light, not as Jose Ortegas but as Erica. And so in terms of her arc, like I always knew kind of the backstory of her being this excellent pilot and a soldier and being someone who you could see hanging out and getting along with everyone on the ship and somebody who everybody trusts. And so I always had like all these layers to who she is, where she's come from. But as we saw in the first season, and it's so funny because it never dawned on me like as we were filming season 1, like I was never like, oh, Ortegas isn't getting as much screen time as everyone else. Because I always thought, and you guys have seen it, it's like anytime that she's on screen, like that's, she not makes the scene, but like I mean maybe, but like no, like makes the scene, but like
Definitely.
she like it's like to me it's everything, right? As the actor, and then it becomes like when she steps on the stage, if you will, it becomes like her story is there. Does that make sense? Like so when people were just like, oh, we don't know enough about Ortegas, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like she's it's all right there. But then it's come trying to see from like where the fans' perspective. They're like, we want to see her relationships. We want to see where she comes from. We want to see what makes her angry. We want to see what makes her sad. And especially too when you start to get all these other arcs where you have the other cast members dealing with all this interpersonal turmoil, and you're hearing about their family backstory, and I can then be like, okay, so I see what they're saying. I'm like, that's all there. It's just, oh, thank you. Every time Erica appears, it's Erica's moment, and it's amazing. I think so. To hear you guys say it makes it real, so thank you. So it's like, and I always joke in the musical episode where it's like, I'm always just like, oh, Ortegas was totally owed a song. In everything, I'm always just like, oh, no, it's exactly how it had to be. And the musical episode, too. Like, the whole plot, right, was that the reason that everybody's breaking out into song is because their emotions are overwhelmed, are overflowing, so they're overwhelming them. I said, but Ortegas was there. She's just like, I'm a pilot and I'm awesome, and you guys are dealing with relationship issues that are childish, and I'm just gonna keep doing my job, and you all figure your stuff out. And so I understood why she didn't get a song, but for me, so much of that journey, like it's been layered into the performance that I've given. In season 2, we see a bit of her war backstory, which I love. And in terms of where I see Ortegas going, like I would love to see. It's so hard. It's so hard because season 3 hasn't come out, and season 4 we're filming, and season 5 is coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's really hard to say. It's just what I will say is if everything were to stop right now, I am so proud of everything that you guys have seen of Ortegas on screen as of now, and everything too that the fans have taken from that and created from that, and that also goes to like what's been created in books and comic books, and like everything that you need to know of a person. I think she's shown, and of course season 3 is going to show a lot more of that, but yeah, I'm just in a tricky situation because it's so hard to talk about where you see her going when it's just like I know some things,
Right.
Yeah.
and you don't.
Well, let me
Not
ask it
yet.
this way. And Gay Fesh here says, yay, hashtag Mortegas. And we have been promised Mortegas, and we will say, without spoilers, you get Mortegas in season
Yes,
3.
you do.
Yes. You
So when you started reading the scripts for season 3 and seeing that there was going to be Mortegas, like what were your feelings about it? You don't have to say what happens, but what were your feelings about what you would be doing?
I was into it. I was for it. I'm trying to think. No, I was all excited about all of it. I was excited about some things you guys haven't seen yet. I could say that. And I was gonna say something and it just fled my head. But no, I was. Jesus, what was I gonna say? It's the time of night, guys. I was just gonna say I had my Mortegas coffee cup, but I downed an espresso in a shot earlier, so that's why I don't have a coffee cup with me. But no, I was very excited with all of it. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is watching those streamers, and like kind of that thing about like when you see the things that have been cut, right? So it's like when you suddenly kind of get more screen time, there's also a lot more things get cut because there's more things to get cut.
Yeah.
So that has been very interesting. Where I'm just like, but they don't see that and that and that, and maybe it'll be in the behind the scenes or not behind the scenes, but in the DVD extras. But yeah, it's so interesting, like how much gets shot that you don't see.
Yeah.
And yeah, I always think about like the fantasy episode in season 1 when we had a whole scene of Ortegas as Sir Adia and Babs as King Ridley, or rather Mbenga as King Ridley, Babs as Mbenga as King Ridley, and Anson as Pike as Sir Roth Pike, etc., and Ethan as the wizard, Spock as the wizard, and I have a sword, and Spock has a staff, and Babs had that crown, and Anson, whatever Sir Roth had, and we all had to climb up a Jeffrey's tube. And it was hilarious because we'd like begin the scene at the bottom and then we'd all climb up the Jeffrey's tube. And I'll never forget like the fourth take and we're all standing at the top and Anson's climbing through the Jeffrey's tube and he's like, it's a 1 hour show. And he was like, this is going to get cut. And he was right. And I'm like, it's like he's done this before. But I'll never forget him getting to the top of that Jeffrey's tube and we're all waiting for him. And he's like, it's a 1 hour show, people. And I'm like, he was right. So a lot of things get cut, but it's also, it's the, you're happy that to be filming so much that, they're able to cut and you still end up in the episode.
Yeah.
That's excellent. And I know all of you out there are wondering, wait, a Mortegas mug? How do I get a Mortegas mug? It's very simple. You just go to openpike.bigcartel.com. We have all of your Mortegas and Ortagus merchandise needs covered because we noticed there was a bit of a dearth of Mortegas merchandise. So definitely go check that out. Rep your favorite pilot wherever you are. And it's the kind of thing that when you wear it in real life, people will be like, what does that mean? And then you can trap them into a discussion about Star Trek because, sometimes those kinds of things need to be done against people's will. We have an excellent question here from somebody that I'm not sure if we've had in our chat before. So welcome to Takakoko Nagumo. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. I'm really trying. She says, hello, Melissa. I met you at Trek Long Island. Are you still playing banjo? And are there places where we can hear you play? Thanks.
Yes, I'm still playing banjo. And I believe I remember we met, if you can post or write again. Was it your husband who is a musician and played? Because I believe we spoke about banjo as well. So I'm still playing the banjo. I play the 5-string, but I am right now learning the 4-string tenor banjo, or the Irish banjo, and I am loving it. I don't know if those around me are loving me repeating jigs over and over and over again. And I've been asking a question every day the last month, which is how early is too early to play the banjo? And I feel like the answer is it's never too early, but other people think differently. And it's really hard to play the banjo quietly, but I've kind of gotten it down because I have neighbors. But like after 9 a.m., I'm like, it's banjo time. Like, if you're sleeping, it's time to get up. So I've been doing the tenor banjo, and I'm very excited because I I won a yes. Hey, what's going on? It is. That's right. And I think it. Hold on. Let's see how good my brain is. I believe that the session, right, or the event that they run takes place on Skillman, right? I think that's correct. Skillman is over in my neck of the woods in Queens. Yes. So, what was I saying with what was it? What, guys, where was I going? Oh yeah. No, where was I going? Banjo. Oh yes, I won. Yes. See, I remember things that I spoke about a year ago, but yet I can't remember what I was talking about 2 seconds ago. But no, I won an auction item with this wonderful banjo player from this band called the Steep Canyon Rangers. If you get a chance to check them out, I've been listening to them for years. The first time I went to see them in concert, I went with Soraya. Brian and I went to several concerts of theirs together. And so Graham Sharp is the banjo player, and they play a lot with Steve Martin. But I won this auction item to like pick a banjo and ride bikes with Graham in Asheville, North Carolina. And so I'm very much hoping to do that this summer. So you guys are finally going to get the banjo trek bluegrass bike riding team up that the world didn't know it needed.
Will you learn to play the Trek theme on banjo?
Ooh. I mean, I will now, you know.
I apologize. I put that out there. Now you have to.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like Graham is going to be able to, he's probably going to be able to do that quite easily. I'm just concerned when he sees that my banjo skills are not, you know, that I love the banjo far more than I can just, you know, sit down and play it. So in answer, yes, you can't currently hear me here. You can't currently hear me play anywhere live. But one of these days, you just wait when you least expect it.
We're still waiting for Erica to do it on the show.
I know that makes all of us.
But
Thank you. I'm going to bring that up again.
And then Paramount will pay for your lessons.
That's got to be how that works.
You would hope.
I promise to pre-order the Melissa Navia Steve Martin banjo album as soon as it's available. I have no compunctions about doing that.
These are things, guys, that we are making happen.
Yes. And I'm going to say one more time, because I'm pretty sure I screwed this up. Thank you, Takako, for your question. We appreciate it deeply. Now, we do have some more questions here, but I just want to spotlight a couple things, people that have met you at conventions, and we know that has actually meant a lot to people. And it's like you were saying before, being a fan of Star Trek is one of the best fandoms you can be a part of. It's like a big giant family. We've got people who met you in Dallas. We've got obviously folks who met you in Germany at FedCon. It's so cool to see everybody sharing their experiences of meeting you. Met you at Star Trek Dallas last year.
Yes.
You were so nice. Jen says she took the time to acknowledge us, felt so seen.
Totally.
Michelle says it was great to meet Melissa at Trek Long Island last year. So glad we're getting #Mortegas soon. Michelle, you don't even know. Oh my gosh. You're going to get so much Mortegas.
Michelle, I don't even know. I can't even remember at the moment. I'm so excited for season 3. And I'm like, what happened? I'm excited just to watch it again with you guys.
Well, we do know that we literally get more Mortegases. You get a brother in season 3.
Yes.
What was it like?
Trailer.
Right. Yes. It has been revealed. What was that like working with a brother?
Oh my goodness. He's, again, perfectly cast. Like, could not be more perfectly cast. And like, I remember when my sister came to set and my brother-in-law, and we hung out with Minor, who plays Ortegas' brother. I don't know if his name has been revealed yet, so I'm going to hold off on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll hold off on that. I'm so good. You can't get a spoiler out of me. And his sister, and Minor's sister, was also on set, and it was just so funny. We got like the best picture. And I remember my sister being like, he looks like our brother. Like, he could totally be our brother. And so it was just such a blast. Like, he's just so, he just came with such a joy for the role and a dedication. And the research that he did into playing Ortegas' brother, like into watching Ortegas, was like, you know, like I fell in love with the whole thing. And he even gave me like a sheet that he had been working on to kind of like write down all the qualities and, you know, the attributes that stood out about Ortegas. And I was just like, oh my God, it was like, so, you know, and I'm like, this is amazing. And he's just like, is it weird? I'm like, maybe, but no, it's not weird. I'm like, this is like, you did your homework. And this is incredible. And yeah, it was just so easy to work with him. I'm looking forward to doing it again. We're working on a little project together, which I'm very excited for him for, and to see how I can best help with it. But no, he's wonderful, and I can't wait for you guys to meet him. And I cannot wait to go to conventions with him. So I don't think he knows truly what he's in store for. But you guys are going to love him at conventions, and you're going to love him in the show.
Yeah, folks, if you've watched the trailer, there's a little bit of a hint of one of the storylines that Ortegas brother is involved with. And I'm just going to tell you right now, there are new relationships in season 3 that you are going to have so much fun diving into. I was blown away. And before we knew he was your brother, I totally called it from the first trailer. So
Right?
We have
It's
to get
like,
that
yeah.
out there. Like
Totally,
he nailed it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is too, like we did kind of like a chemistry read. Chemistry reads, they also did it probably, I think, I believe he might have also done with Celia, but like in terms of like, a brother-sister chemistry read, but it was kind of like when we did it, he didn't know it at the time, but the casting directors were like, no, this is who we want. And I was like, oh, I'm just here to just play along. But I'm like, if there had been like a massive issue, I would have said something. I don't know if that would have played it all, but the casting directors are so wonderful that they know what they're doing. And so when they were like, he's the guy, and then I we zoomed a scene together, and I was like, no, he's the guy. He's my brother. He's my baby brother.
That's great.
Yeah, we do. I think that, one of the things that we try to do at Open Pike Night is to shine a spotlight on some of maybe the lesser known people that help shows like this get made. And we did speak with your casting directors, Marjorie Simpkin.
Oh,
and
yay.
Orly
You guys have
Simmons,
spoken
and
with everyone. It's like amazing.
almost
It makes
tried.
me so
We tried.
happy.
We're
It
working
makes me
on it.
so happy.
And they absolutely know what they are doing. They know when they strike gold, and they're very good at finding the gold. So big shout out to them. If you're looking for something to listen to until season 3 comes out, just go back in the Open Pike Night feed and check that out.
We got a
Totally,
lot of good
totally.
interviews. Yeah.
Yeah, but for
That's a
Yeah,
really
I still
good one.
remember when they told me that like they saw my self tape and they were like that's Ortegas,
yeah,
and I was like, well, I knew it too, but
it's
they were like,
it's mind blowing that they seem to know who the characters are before the writers do, before the directors do. It's like sometimes it feels like they may even know before the showrunners themselves. And it was a great conversation, and we could not heap enough thanks and praise on them when they were here. We're like, you have given us this thing that we all love, and thank you so much for doing
truly.
They
Yeah, I have
seemed-
to. Love them.
They seemed especially proud of casting you of
Yeah.
their Erica pick.
Oh, I love it. I've actually not seen your episode with them, and I will completely watch it. I'll listen to it. And yeah, I love. I respect in the same way that like I'm in awe of writers, like casting directors. I don't know how they do what they do. I couldn't do it. And so them in particular, like they're right up there with people who have changed my life. So Margie and Orly, love you guys.
Yeah, you're right though. We do try to talk to everybody, and because of that, we've hit 100 episodes of Open Pike Night before Strange New Worlds has hit 21 episodes.
Isn't that crazy?
Seriously, like if you need a place to go to think about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, please, we'd love to have you at Open Pike Night, just like we love to have this question from Lauren in the chat. You have done such an incredible job of portraying a soldier who is now dealing with post-war peacetime. Were you able to talk with veterans and incorporate that experience into Ortegas?
Oh, lovely question. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, so I've spoken with a lot of veterans and soldiers, and I have, when it comes to our veterans, and especially now with everything that's happening, like I just have such a massive appreciation and just a reverence for what they do, what they have been through that I cannot even fathom. And so when I get to speak with them and when they tell me that, my portrayal of Ortegas, Jess's portrayal of Chapel, Babs's portrayal of Mbenga, like how much that particular episode in season 2 really hit home for so many of them, like that just you sit with that, and you're just like, what I'm doing is a very small piece of a much larger picture, and just like it's to play a soldier, which I've done a lot in my career, and I'm not sure why, for whatever reason. I've also played a pilot a lot. Clearly, I read as soldier and pilot. I'm cool with that. And I did. It's so funny because we spoke so much in that first interview, and then we had like a second Q&A. I'm sure I've spoken about this, but like I remember doing a like what was it? What did you call it? Like an industrial for the military once years ago, and we shot it on an army base, and they had a problem finding because of the uniforms that they had, finding one that fit me because my boots were too big because it didn't fit me, and the uniform was a little bit too big. But yet I'd walk around and people from the crew were like, "When did you serve?" And I was just like, "That is acting. That is acting that I'm doing." But I always there's like a bit of pride to it because I respect and appreciate so much when I get to speak with and I get to hear the stories from soldiers, active duty, and especially veterans, who a lot of times are going through things that we can't even imagine. And so any sort of thing that I could do in my character work to kind of to spotlight that, and then to also kind of give people a moment to kind of be like, in life when we step away from Trek, like what is it that we can continue doing for our veterans, that is more than just kind of saying that we appreciate them, but what can we be doing to show our appreciation, in a way that like matters. And so just right now there's a number of organizations that I follow that I'm still trying to formulate like how I can best help in like the little platform that I have. But the fact that Ortegas is a soldier, and when I hear from veterans and soldiers at conventions and I get messages, it means everything. So I have gotten to speak to them, and I hope that I'm doing right by them. And I hope that Ortegas gets more storylines where we get to explore that more. I hope. Maybe I know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Very well done.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had comedian and veteran Tom Tran on to discuss Under the Cloak of War. And he said that you all really seem to nail the if you've been in it, you get it. And if you haven't, you don't kind of aspect to that sort of situation. And he really could not say enough nice things about all of you in the cast who had been given that backstory. And we've talked about it. John always like forces us to rank episodes, and that episode is my top for season 2. Like,
oh, love it.
It hits hard. It gives you everything you want, and I stand by #Mbenga did nothing wrong. So shifting gears here a little bit, I love this question in the chat from Gayfish.
I was hoping you were going to say that one.
Melissa, do you think Ortegas uses one of those glowing blue space cube razors to shave her head like Geordi used on The Next Generation? Or does the Enterprise have a hairstylist? Which TNG also had a hairstylist. It was all about options there.
Yeah, I feel like, so in addition, so you guys have brought up a few things that I have to talk to our showrunners about, and I'm sure they're going to be so happy when I bring this up because I've thought about this before.
You were an Open Pike Night again, weren't you?
Right, I know.
Every time you come back.
The answer is no, you don't have to talk to them.
Right. You don't have to listen to them. I'm like, but I do. They have good ideas, and their fans do. So interesting, because I think it could be either or both. Like, I actually been given by one of my hairstylists in LA, who is incredible, love her work, and you've seen it on the red carpet a few times when I've been in LA. She gave me a foil, which is like this cute little razor, and it's just like it's supposed to be to just kind of, when it's just a little bit of growth, because my hair grows super fast on the side. But I'm always so like freaked out to do it because I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I wait for the professionals to do it. But I feel like it could be a mix of that. It could be a mix of she does a little touch up on her own, and then she's also got like this hairstylist. But I feel like we should see that hairstylist right before the end of season 5. I think so.
Agreed.
We need to know the backstory to the hair.
Yeah,
Right.
This is not necessarily a spoiler, Gayfish, but it might be spoiler adjacent. I'll just say hair is discussed in season 3, so keep your eyes and ears
Yeah.
open.
I don't even remember. Is it?
I was beside myself so many times, even in just the first 5 episodes. I cannot.
I think I know what I think I know what you're talking about. Oh, the the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like PTSD. It's just come over me. I just had a thought too. Just if Jen is still watching, or if anyone cares about what I'm watching. The other thing that I watched recently and is so good, Reacher.
Oh yeah.
So good. And I hadn't seen the movies, but like now that I've seen the TV show, I'm just like, it's just so good. And the whole like Reacher himself is like this massive man, and that's such a part of like the character. And so then, yeah, it's very different because I just saw one of the movies for the first time the other day, and it's interesting. It's just a different take on Reacher. Yeah. But the TV show Reacher, and then because we're talking about the military too, and we're talking about, camaraderie and brother and sisterhood, and like, but like, knowing what somebody has been through, and then also being with us for hey Jen, I'm still here. Like being with those people who you've been through so much with, and then coming back into like regular everyday life. I don't know, the show just does a really good job of balancing a lot, and some of it too is absolutely insane, but the fact that it's absolutely insane and then you make it real, I mean, that's kind of also Trek, right? So I just appreciate Reacher so much. It's just such a blast. I think there are 3 seasons in, and some of our stunt guys who we work with all the time, when they told me that they were like stunt guys on Reacher, like I fangirled out. I was like, oh my God, I was like, who are you? And so I'm like massive guys, and so it's been fun. Yeah, so that's another show you should check out.
I love watching the discourse about that show because people are like, how did this show take this long to get made? The plot is there's a giant guy and he wants to get things done. And then when they introduce a villain, it's like, okay, but get this. The bad guy is even bigger than the giant guy.
It's just so, and it's just so good and ridiculous and also good. And it's just like, yeah, and I've really quite enjoyed it. So check out Reacher.
I'm 2 seasons and I still need to watch the 3rd season. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And the 2nd season, and you see a lot of that, right? Because the 2nd season, right, is when they're going back to like, it's doing the flashbacks, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So watch Reacher.
There you go.
We do also have just some general love and requests in the chat. Lauren would love for you to come to Boston/New England.
I would love to come
Angela
to Boston.
seconds the Boston request.
I would love to come to Boston. Please let us know my daughter's request an Ortegas haircut, and I've only managed a regular undercut. Yes, so the Ortegas haircut is not easy. I remember I've seen some fans, especially after season 1, I saw some fans trying it themselves, and I was just like, you are brave, and I think you're wonderful. And then all these just parents that like, oh my goodness, they made little Melissa like so happy with like, they were sending me pictures. This was during the actors strike, of like their daughters going to space camp and getting Ortegas haircuts. And I was like, that's the coolest thing. But especially like when your hair grows very fast, like it's very tough to keep up. And my hair grows fast. Like it's even, I don't know if you could see it very well in here, but it's like growing in super fast. And I have like I've been going silver since I was like, it's so weird because it's like a mirror, but it's not a mirror. I'm having, and it's like almost midnight here. So I'm like having, but like, my hair's been silver since like forever. Since I was like in my early 20s, it started going silver. So it's actually growing in quite a bit here. And it looks super cool. I like it, but then everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna shave it." So it's just a lot of upkeep. I'll say that.
Yeah, I've like legitimately every time I go to get my hair cut, I have 2 pictures on my phone. One is like it must be a costume fitting or something where you're like full profile and it's clearly just to show the haircut. And I'm like, I can do this. I can get the Ortegas haircut. And then when I sit down in the chair, I immediately swipe to the other photo. I go, it's a high top fade. Just leave what's on top. Because I'm like this close, but I'm like, but there's something about being able to pull it off that I'm not 100% sure I've gotten to yet.
I love
and it's, but I probably, maybe for season 5, we'll have a big watch party with everyone who listens, and maybe I'll reveal the Ortegas cut.
Oh my goodness, I would love that.
It became immediately iconic. You're the only person who has this haircut and is on TV, and it's like,
and that went into like the decision to get it. Like when people are like, did they tell you to get this cut or was that your decision? And you guys can go back in my Instagram to like a few months before I would have booked the show. I had asked for this haircut and I got it. And then my rep at the time, he was a little bit freaked out. And he was just like, oh, what am I supposed to do with that? He's like, he doesn't talk like that, but I'll make it. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, how can we send you out on audition? So I was like, all right. So I went to a pixie cut because I was just like, I'm trying to book a job here. And so I booked Ortegas with a pixie cut. And then when they showed me their pictures, their ideas, I was just like, no, this is cool. And this wasn't even in one of the pictures. Like it became this because of like the way my hair grows and the color and also the severity of kind of having it fully shaved on the sides and really also having like less of a fade and more of just like a sharp delineation. I remember Brian saying, he was just like, he called it. He was like, it's an action figure. He's like nobody else will have this cut. And I was just like, yeah. What I didn't know, I was just like, there are times definitely filming now when it's just like in the morning. All our hair team is wonderful, and I love them. And if I had to be with anyone at 3 a.m, it would be them. But there are certain times where I'm just like, this was my idea. I chose to have to do this every day because we have to shave every day. That's how fast it grows.
Who's longer in the hair chair, you or Anson?
I think me.
Oh.
I think me. Maybe it's the same. Maybe it's the same. But the shaving is just crazy because those little hairs, they get everywhere. And so I have to always get cut before makeup, which took a couple seasons for everybody to fully get. There were still times in like the first 2 seasons, they'd be like, oh, we're going to put you in makeup first. I was like, no, you're not. Because that's not going to end well for anybody. So we always have to cut first and then makeup.
Yeah, I would imagine they're doing less shaving of Anson's head when he's in
yes.
the chair.
It's more about like the building.
Yeah.
Which kind of builds itself.
It's a structural thing where you need one architect and one hairstylist. Speaking of which, Michael says there has to be a minimum of 2 hairstylists on the Enterprise. Pike alone has to have a dedicated one to start with. I agree with that completely.
I agree. And even if we went back to like if we ended up getting some Trek shorts again, we could just have a whole ridiculous short of Ortegas and Anson. Ortegas and Anson, listen to me. Ortegas and Pike. That would be really meta. That'd be weird. Just arguing over barbers and stylists. And,
I'd watch that.
That would be a great short trick.
Yeah, that's what short tricks is for.
Yeah.
Bring it back just for that. Well, I want to go back to the beginning of the conversation. Maybe we're getting wrapping things up now, but when you were talking about going back and watching your performance and watching the show and enjoying watching yourself, while doing that, was there ever a moment where you kind of impressed yourself, where you're like, oh, I did really good in that scene. That was really good.
I don't know. I'm always just kind of like, yep, that's what I wanted to do. No, I'm trying to think. I really liked in season 2 when I saw the premiere of season 2 because that was the first episode we shot coming back, and you guys know I was dealing with grief, and I was blown away. I'm not often blown away when I see myself just because I was there. I did it, I'm like not super surprised. I'm like, I shot that, I was there, but I was blown away by just because I knew what I was feeling and how I was and everything. And then I'm just like, I was like, I'm pretty good at what I do because I look so, I look like Ortegas and I don't look like Melissa, who was just like, I don't know what life was at that time, and especially in that scene on the bridge when they're trying to steal the Enterprise and Spock is in the captain's chair and she gets that great Vamonos line. I mean, it's just like I'm looking at it, and I don't even it's almost like I don't have any memory of even shooting it and doing it, Like I remember the day, I remember being there, but I was just like, it's just so good. I was just like, every time every time action was called, like I was Ortegas, and that helped also, and for the whole season, right? It helped take me out of, not take me out of the grief because the grief is always there, but it helped me get through it and helped me remind me of like what it is that I do so well and what it is that I'm here for. And so that particularly, like I was just so happy with it. And then what I wasn't happy about was when I put on the subtitles and I realized that they were misspelling "vamonos."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, in another life, I was an editor and a copywriter. And I was like, why does this haunt me? And I was like, I didn't even know who to contact. I was like, who do I contact about subtitles? And apparently, like, it was misspelled. They fixed it. So I learned that they could fix it. And then I think somewhere else, I think it was like in the UK, it was like Vamoose. It was also a different thing altogether.
Yep.
And which I loved because I was getting fans being like Vamoose, and I was like, interesting take on it, but sure. But it was because that's what the subtitles were. And so I just was laughing that I'm just like, if you had asked, like, me as like my editor of my college newspaper, that one day I would be on Star Trek still editing, like subtitles. So before the subtitles, I was like, oh, this is an amazing scene. After the subtitles, I was just like, what is my life? But we got it fixed. So
That's wonderful. And to your point, I remember that day, like when that episode aired, there were so many people online like, they spelled it wrong. We got the wrong version. That's not even the word. Like, this is the kind of things Trekkies will notice. So you're in
absolutely
very good company.
oh, I love it. I love the fans. You guys get me.
We're lucky because we just love the show, and like I was saying, there's nothing about Strange New Worlds that we've encountered yet where we're like, oh, I kind of wish they'd gone a different direction. It's like, this is the show we would make if we had the power to make this show. You did mention the first time you were on Open Pike Night, you talked a lot about grief and the process of grieving, and you had written that article about it, which I know has reached a lot of people personally, and people have had a lot of reactions to that. And I know that it has helped a lot of people. And I may have mentioned in that episode, in our discussion, that I had been incredibly lucky to make it to my mid-30s without really losing anybody close to me. And since that, I did end up losing my grandmother, which was kind of the first big loss in my life, and I had such a serene peace, just kind of thinking back to what you had been talking about during that process, because I was, obviously overwhelmed, and so much of real life demands that you keep showing up for things and keep functioning as a person through all of that. And I was constantly reminding myself every day leading up to her service, like, this is not a time frame oriented thing. This is, however it works, it will work. Let it flow, be here in these moments, and then let those moments step back. And it was a huge help. So I just want to personally say thank you so much for sharing that with everybody, because it really does matter to people. I know Star Trek matters to people, and it should, but you kind of bring it to that second level of the people who make Star Trek matter to people outside of Star Trek. And that was, it was a gift that I didn't know I needed at the time, but I absolutely leaned on your advice and your process. So thank you very much for that.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that. Jesse, what is her name?
Mary was
Mary.
82 or 83. She was about to be 83. And she had, I asked, can I see her will? I love the way that she writes. I want to see her handwriting. And she was so pragmatic about everything. She was kind of the person in our family who kept magic alive. She taught us all about magic and how if you want a thing, you can have that thing, and how to bring that thing into the universe. And so as everybody was planning, they're like, well, what about this day for the service? And what about this day? And I said, well, can I just see what she wrote? And it was on her, because she had written, whatever you need to do for yourselves at my service is fine. I'm not going to be there. So just do whatever you want. And I was like, this is, to me, I think that really helped me realize, like, this is a process that everybody deals with, and there are so many ways to approach it. But seeing her approach written down in her, like, almost Victorian script, I was like, this is, yes, she gets it. She knows that this is for us. And I think that really helped all of us, because it was very tumultuous. It was right around the holidays. There were so many people in so many different towns around here trying to make it work. And I realized oh, the way this is going to go is how it needs to go for the people who are organizing it, because that's what she wanted. And it was, I mean, it was a tough day, but it was so happy. Like, there was so much love and smiles happening. And I remember thinking repeatedly, like, oh, I should stop smiling so much. I should stop, feeling all this love and happiness. And would always come back to you, like, no, the love is the reason that it hurts, and that's the reason that you want to hold on to that. And I absolutely credit the conversation we had with you, with me being able to not completely break down into a puddle that day. It was very intense, but it was beautiful, and we all loved it. It was really, really cool.
Oh, Jesse, I'm so happy to hear that, and thank you. I'm a very, very small part of that I helped in any way at all. And the thing that I keep going back to as well is, like, just to remember, like, that her story isn't over, do you know? Yeah. And with what you're saying, and with what, just, I get messages all the time, and I always say this, that, like, my apologies that I can't respond to everybody, or even to a lot of people, but I get the messages, and there are just some, I mean, all of them are beautiful, but it's about people talking about losing a family member, a grandparent, a partner, talking about somebody that they've lost many years ago or just recently, and that in some way me talking about it has helped. I'm like, I definitely did not ever envision, I didn't want this to be the thing that I talk about, but so much of me writing that article, like we spoke a lot about, was just like, this hurts so much. And I think as a writer and as an artist and as somebody who's like, whose whole life is storytelling, is just like, I'm like, I want this to, I can't keep this in, like, I want to share, not only I want to share Brian, but I also want to share, like, what this is, because I think so often people are made to feel like you have to get over it and move on, and that just doesn't work for me. And the biggest thing that I've kind of, like, that's kind of been going in my head the last few months is, like, just to remember, and that's so much of, like, what I knew as soon as we hit 2022, where I was like, his story's not over, and you guys, I want to tell you about him. And so in doing that, people were like, you were so open and honest and vulnerable about your grief. I was like, yeah, I guess I was, but it was all selfish, and that I wanted to tell you about him, do you know?
Yeah.
And then now that, like, because every month is a new understanding of what it is that I'm going through, and it's just like, that's the kind of the phrase that I keep going back to. I'm like, just remember, their story isn't over. And the messages that I get from people, it's just like, that's the big thing. It's just like the relationship continues. It also evolves, and it also, in really, really beautiful ways. And I know my grandmothers, I was super, super, super close to them. I still am. And my grandfathers, they both passed when my parents were both younger. My mom in her teens and my dad younger. And they were such a powerful, beautiful, strong presence in their lives that they passed that down to me. And so I still feel so much like I know my grandfathers, because they left such an indelible mark on my parents, and my grandmothers as well. And so thank you for sharing with me about Mary. And I just love that, like, you guys being like, what do we do? And she was like, do whatever you want,
Yeah.
And that's her way of just being like, this is on you guys now. And she's working through all of you. And that's just really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that, Jesse.
Thank you. Yeah, your point about the story not being over is, I think, the thing that helped me the most, because so my daughter, I think the first time we spoke to you, I think she was 3 or 4, and she's now 6. So she's old enough to recognize, like, hey, this is different. I don't see Gigi anywhere. And she asked, where's Gigi? Why isn't Gigi here? And I was able to use that story not being over to say, well, actually, Gigi's with you all the time now, and you can always talk to her. You don't have to wait to see her to be able to talk to her. And I think that has really helped her. I'm sure she doesn't quite understand what I mean when I say that, but it has helped her. And I'll hear her, walking around the house. She's like, I miss Gigi. Oh, hi, Gigi. And, my wife is very much like, who is she talking to? I'm like, it's not a haunting situation. She's processing. I'm processing. It's totally fine. But yeah, I mean,
I love it.
To your credit, like, this is, showing up in the chat this has affected a lot of people. Lauren shared your article with a coworker who lost her partner, and it really touched her. It was a gift. It was a beautiful and open view into your resilient heart. Elizabeth says, I lost my mom young and I was alone. You sharing about your loss and grief is a huge gift to young people and anyone, a reminder that they're not alone. And it's just, I know that it's a thing that has affected so many people, and it's a kind of vulnerability that is not required of actors, especially of a fun, silly sci-fi show like Star Trek, right? But the fact that you choose to do it, I think, is incredibly admirable, and it's a wonderful gift. And Michael shares a great Terry Pratchett quote: "No one is truly gone from the world until the last ripple fades from everything they did and everyone they touched." And our good friend Mark shares, "Moving on is a non-starter. It is always forward with them." And thank you all so much for sharing in the chat with us on that topic. It was a thing that I was like, I don't know if I should talk about this, but it's the same thing. I keep going back to you having the courage to talk about it, and I was like, this is as good a place as any, and this is the person who made me able to do it. So
Yes, no, always, always, always feel free with me. And what I say to people too is like, it's like tears will come. Like I've had a few interviews in the last few weeks where I'm just like, suddenly I'm kind of, I get a little bit like the tears are coming, but I'm like, that's okay, that's okay. And then you get, and there's some days still where I'm completely, I have moments and I don't have moments, but all of that's okay. And if I'm talking to somebody and I'll, it'll be like, that's okay, um, and and yeah, and I'll say that to people too, like who don't who are sometimes concerned about what to say to somebody who's grieving, who's newly grieving, or even to somebody who's, because there's that whole thing, right? It's just like, people are like, they understand when it's been, a few weeks, but they understand less when it's been a few years. Like I'm going through a moment now where it's like I'm a little bit tentative sometimes, just because I'm just like, every time I go out into the world, people are going to start to think, she's a total mess if she's still talking. But that's not, just that, like, people who don't know me very well. There's just a certain level of just like, in the first few months, like, and the first year, really, like they could understand why it was so at the surface, right? But after a certain time, like you start to kind of be like, do you want to hold back a bit? Definitely, like in the last year and a half, right? I've been a little bit less quiet about it because I've been, that just for different reasons. But there's that thing of just like, for everybody, it's a little bit different. It all comes, like you said, like it's not linear, right? There's all sorts of different ways. Every day is different. But for people who are like being like, oh, I always feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing. It's just like, do you know what? It's like sometimes you will say the wrong thing, and that's okay. Do you know? That's totally okay. Like it's the person who's grieving, who's going through it, and just saying something is good. Like I remember somebody once saying when I was commenting, when I was a little bit more, and I'll be active on social media again as season 3 comes out. I'm very excited to be, but there was like a time where I was really quite on there and conversing with everybody, and I would see sometimes people would say something about something that was happening. I was just like, do you see how there's like a little issue or thing there, like when you say that? Like I would hear about people who lost a partner, and the person, somebody would come up to them and be like, my husband's my best friend, I could never imagine losing him, like to somebody who just lost their husband or their partner. And it's just, that's insane. I got that quite a bit, but it wasn't from a place of malice. It was from a place of like, I would see people in full like breakdowns being just like, my husband's my best friend and I can't imagine what you're going, I can't imagine. And I was like, yeah, I couldn't imagine it either until right now. It's pretty horrendous. And you'd hear it from like people who've lost kids. They said that people say the same thing to them, which seems pretty crazy. And so I called it out one day, and there were some people that are just like, this is why I don't say anything to anyone who's grieving, because this is what happened. And I'm just like, and somebody else said to me that she's okay when people say things like that because at least they're saying something. And that like broke my heart. And I was like, So I'm just like, just kind of, however I can continue the conversation, just help people be like, it's okay to say the wrong thing. And it's okay when you're grieving to call it out. And it's okay. Like all these things are okay, but it's just like, it's being silent about it and acting like it's this really weird thing. That's what's wild to me. Because I'm like, grief is a thing that we are all going to go through. life and death, like we can't, like there's lots of other things we don't have in common, but we have this in common. So it's strange that it still remains so taboo. So I'm like, my whole thing is just like, talk about it. If it's weird, it's weird. Make it weird. It's okay. Because it's better than saying nothing. But I'm glad to hear that what I wrote and what I did, especially in that first year and a half, has resonated with people. You know, like sometimes you do something like a few years ago and you look at it and you're like, oh, why did I write that? I'm still happy with everything that I've written and everything I said about that and everything that I'll continue to say. Hopefully as I'm kind of growing and learning and I can pass along that to fans and to the greater community. Because again, grief is a thing that we are all going to go through, and it absolutely stinks. But like I've said, and like you guys get, like it's love, it's love, it's love.
And I think you're right that the conversation is part of the important thing, right? Because it does seem like people are loath to talk about it or pretend that it's not something to talk about. But as Matrix of Time points out in the chat, I lost my best friend in December, and every time I see Melissa talk about her loss or post grief on Instagram, it helps me understand my own grief. And Lauren nails it right here. It is so wonderful that you are opening up the conversation and not letting grief lurk in the shadows. And to Michael's point, make it weird. Got that covered. The human experience is weird. Life is weird. You got to talk about all parts of it.
And talk about your person that is no longer physically here. Like I get a kick out of like when I have to like hear, I was talking about this in an interview the other day too, but like I have to, hear so often, we have to hear so many mundane things from people about like the people in their lives who are, who are like doing just regular things, and they talk about it, and I'm like, I get to hear about them all the time, but then like, but then people are like the person who's no longer physically here, like you kind of have to stop talking about them, or they're afraid to say their name, and I'm like, that's absolute nonsense. Like, my person did all these amazing, cool, it was just the coolest things, and I want to talk about it, and things that I'm experiencing now remind me of him and that thing he did. And so in the same way that you can, bring up the boring thing that your baby did the other day, I can bring up that very cool thing that my guy did a few years ago. So hopefully that helps anybody who's kind of like out there right now, just being like, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to do, or I don't know if this is weird. Like we said, make it weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way that life is. This is a great question from Jen. If you have an answer for this, what was Brian's favorite meal?
Guys, come on.
We'll get back to Star Trek after this.
Yeah. He was a wonderful cook. He's such a good cook. He'd always kind of shoo me out of the kitchen. Because he would just get it done. He would get it done so fast. And I don't know, his favorite meal was like, Brian was originally from Ireland. But he would always say he's from County Donegal, Ballyshannon. See, this is what happened. Because you have me thinking about his amazing cooking now. But he was like a New Yorker through and through. And he was like, as one of his friends once said, like, Brian didn't just, because I said, I was like, Brian loved New York. And his friend was like, Brian didn't just love New York. Brian was New York. Mm-hmm. And so he also had this great appreciation for all food, and he would take me to the best restaurants. And he introduced me to so much food. I never thought I would ever like oysters. And now I love oysters because Brian and I loved oysters. But yeah, he loved all food. I really can't pinpoint like a favorite meal because it was just like, it was like all food. Like, he would take me to like, he would take me everywhere. And we just, all over New York City, like it was just the best thing. Like we got a kick out of like when we would see people waiting online outside a restaurant. Because he's like, this is New York City. He's like, we have the best food in the world everywhere. Like, why would you wait online? And he would say, we don't queue up. I'm like, yeah, we don't queue up. But yeah, so thank you for that question. And I'll say, yeah, just, it's funny too, because he was, sometimes I'm also just like, I never want to speak for him. So I'm going to say a meal, and I could feel him being like, no, that wasn't my favorite meal. So I'll just say, he, like me, we loved food, and we one of the many things we loved about New York City is that you get everything here. You get the best of everything here. And he was a wonderful cook. And when I finally started cooking, it's been very therapeutic because I've been thinking about the way that he did it and the way that he would just kind of go into it. And, I find myself cooking for myself now, like, coming home from a day on set. And it's just, I love it because I look back to where I was like 2 years ago. I'm like, I couldn't have been doing this. I would have been falling apart. And now I'm just loving it. So yeah, thank you for that question.
Excellent.
I kept it together.
John, Cameron, do you guys have any other big questions that we need to get to before we let Melissa finally get some sleep before her
There
next
is that
flight?
one question we always have to ask
Ah,
with the time loopiness of how Star Trek Strange New Worlds works. Do you have a one-word teaser for season 4?
because I believe you gave us Home for season 3.
I
Yeah.
did. And I still stand by that.
And I'm just going to throw this out for folks. When we asked for the season 3 teaser, zero exaggeration, Melissa took like 14 minutes to think about scripts, to think about storylines, to pick out just one thing that she could say. And our goal is never to get anybody fired or break an NDA. So if you need some time, you can totally have it while we marvel at this wonderful comment from Elizabeth. If you ever need a chuckle, you can know that there's a Strange New Worlds themed flock of chickens that includes Ortegas family members. Elizabeth,
That's
please send
fantastic.
us photos of the chickens.
I love that. I love that so much. That bought me a little bit of time too, Elizabeth. Thank you. Just trying to think. So in the same way that like when Jen asked at the start of this wonderful Q&A, like what I watch on TV, I am literally right now being like, what have we shot in season 4? It's all been amazing. But I'm like, and considering I drove like I was in Mad Max to get to Toronto the other day to film, and I'm just like, what did we do that day? It was a heat wave too. I don't know
Yeah.
where it was, how it was where you guys were at, but in New York and Toronto, it was a heat wave. We were in the middle of
All
the heat
the
wave.
East
It's great.
Coast, we're cooking over here, yeah.
But okay, this is the first word that came to mind, so I'm just gonna go with this because I'm just gonna say chaos.
Ooh,
All right.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
With the C, this isn't a Get Smart crossover with
Right.
KAOS. There's a Nick and Knight reference for everyone.
I was
There
going
you
to say,
go.
Cameron, you're always so timely with the references.
Yeah.
I love
We're
it.
for the young crowd. We
That's
appreciate
right.
that.
Well, that is our
Nick at
first.
Night. I haven't heard of Nick at Night in forever. I love it.
Grew up on it.
Yeah. And before we get out, I do want to just spotlight a couple things right here. One from Michelle, Grief is Tough. Cooking and sharing a meal, especially a recipe from a loved one who's passed, can be so healing. Thank you for sharing. And then Vernon really wraps it all up the way that we all feel. What a great show. You guys rock. Oh, he's talking about us. I didn't mean to, I didn't mean to use
Like,
that tone of voice.
Thanks, Jesse.
Melissa is absolutely amazing. That's what I was trying to spotlight because we agree here. We do tell people you are the patron saint of Open Pike Night. You opened doors for us that we didn't know we wanted to walk through. You have helped our show grow from what we legitimately planned to be a 10-episode podcast about season 1 to where we are now, which is over 100 episodes. We've met a lot of folks at conventions. We've had panels at conventions. We have merchandise. There's patrons. Like, it's a whole legitimately life-changing thing for us at Open Pike Night to be able to talk about Strange New Worlds, especially when we get to talk to the people that make it. So I want to say thank you on behalf of everyone in the chat. And of course, on behalf of John and Cameron, thank you, Melissa, for sharing some of your time with us. We really appreciate it. And I'm so excited for people to see what you've done in season 3 because, again, emotionally, like every end of every spectrum in just the first 2 episodes. So people, please make sure that you watch the premiere of Strange New Worlds. Both 2 episodes of the premiere of Strange New Worlds on July 17th. Yes. I cannot wait to not have to think about what I can say and cannot say about the
I
show.
can't. Oh, I can't. It's gonna
Right.
be it's gonna be like a big release. And I'll
Yeah.
say too, my niece who you guys met, I think you guys met my niece at Star Trek
Long Island, yeah.
at the convention, last year. But when she found out that I was going to be meeting up with you guys, I was with my parents, I was with her, and was with Soraya earlier. But she was like, "You have to wear your Ortega shirt." Because I was telling her who you guys were, and I was like, "They're the guys who did the Ortega shirt." Because she had like a light blue one that day. She was like, "You have to wear your Ortega shirt," and I was just like, "Yeah." I was like, "It might be a lot of Ortegas on Ortegas on Ortegas." So then I went with my Vulcan shirt gifted by the camera team.
Oh, nice. Yeah, don't wear the T-shirt of the band to the concert, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that she was like, "Oh, they're those guys. Love them."
Aw, that's sweet.
And so what you guys have done with like Ortegas merch, and like I still have to. I know I keep being like, I gotta get a lot of stuff, but there's gifts I want to get for people, and I'm like, they don't know what's coming. They're getting mugs, they're getting shirts, they're getting stickers. I saw the other day there's like 3 different sizes of your Ortega stickers. I was like, decisions have to be made. So thank you guys for all of that.
Absolutely. There was talk of panels in Vegas. You'll find at least some of us at Vegas this year. Hopefully we'll see Melissa. It sounds like we'll see, but come check us out there. This was our first season 4 one word tease, but we have received another one you haven't heard yet. Be sure to check out our writers retrospectives. Our writers strange new words is what we're calling it. Every episode we're going to hear from the writers, and Bill Wolkoff has a great one word tease for season 4 as well. So
I love it. I love that you guys are like talking to our writers and our showrunners and everybody. Oh,
we love them.
So
Love them all.
Great. They're fantastic.
Bill Wolkoff is the second patron saint, right?
Oh, I love it. That makes me happy. Well, guys, thank you so much, and thank you to the fans. And I've actually gotten, thanks to what you guys are doing, where you pull it up big like that, I get to see so many of the messages. And yeah, season 3, let's go. Let's make it happen. I can't wait to enjoy it again, like for the first time, because I currently can't remember much of anything. So I can't wait to experience it anew with everybody.
Excellent.
And if folks wanted to experience it with you on social media, what is the best place for them to do that, and how can they follow you on social media?
Oh, that's a great question, Jesse. So on the Instagram, I believe I'm at MC Navia, which is M for Melissa, C for my middle name, and Navia. So MC Navia. And then on the Twitter, or whatever you want to call it these days, it's Melissa C Navia. And yeah, I think there's like the best places. Like I'm hoping to have some more things out this season where you guys can see more of my writing. That'd be kind of cool, right? But yeah, right now definitely Instagram is the biggest. And I know people want me to get on like all the other types of Twitters, and I'm just like, I don't know how everybody does it. I'm like, I am tired and I'm busy. I have flights to catch and to miss. And so for right now, you have me on the Instagram, the Twitter, and hopefully you'll be able to see more of my writing very soon.
I gotta assume
other places,
based on your tease, that your middle name is Chaos, because that's what the C stands for.
There you go.
Hilarious.
That's good to hear.
Hilarious.
Lauren points out, well, she asks Blue Sky, and I'm not going to push you to join Blue Sky, but I will tell you, Blue Sky seems to have fewer instances of unmitigated vitriol than some of the other social media sites that we've all grown to love over the years. So if you ever are looking to expand, we highly recommend Blue Sky. And of course, all of you folks out there, you can get Open Pike Night wherever you get your podcasts. Just open up your podcast player, type in Open Pike Night, we'll pop up. You can follow us on social media at Open Pike, basically whichever social media you are looking for. And of course, if you want to be on the show, which is not normally a live stream, it's usually a podcast, just go to openpike.com. Everything you need is all in one place: merchandise, Patreon support, episodes of the show, lots of stuff there. We do have a few articles that we've done over the years. We're looking into maybe pumping out some more written things there, but it's a chaotic thing to try and keep up with a 10-episode show that comes out once every 2.5 years.
Yeah.
and write something that hasn't been written about it. So I think that's basically where we're at. John, you're kind of the master of shutting the show down. So if you would please, would you mind shutting the show down.
I have to do one more quick shout out to Vernon. I was not expecting to see fan art of myself tonight. I'm
Dude.
still a little stunned. So, I mean, I don't think
I
I've said thanks enough. Just
Yeah.
throw it out there at the very end.
I mean, not that Vernon doesn't have enough to do now, but like if we could get like the three of you and me in like one
Joyriding in
Yes.
an open top convertible
yes.
Enterprise.
Oh, I love it.
We'll literally pay you, Vernon. We don't want to ask you to work for free.
Right. I will as well. Yeah, definitely. I have all the places that you could have Open Pike and Ortagus.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to show that picture to like so many people who are not going to understand it or care what it is, but like I'm going to enjoy that even more because then I will get to explain where it came from, why it exists, and what is happening.
Absolutely.
All right, John, take us out.
It's been a long night, and the Open Pike Night crew definitely needs to go watch all the Strange New Worlds that's out already because season 3 starts in just over 2 weeks. We are almost here, folks. The wait is almost over. So be sure to clean up after yourselves. Be sure to tip your servers. You can go anywhere you want, but you can't stay here. And where's the outro loop?